Welcome back to another wonderful edition of Cuddy's Moral Compass. I am your host, Cuddy TG, and today I am honored to be joined by a very, very special guest. She goes by many names: the Revanator, the Revster, the Revatron 3000. Everybody, rev your engines for Revy.
Cuddy's got morals, ayy. And he's got a compass, ayy. But he ain't an explorer, nah. It's for his morals, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. That's the theme song till we get a better theme song.
Alright, well, since we don't really have anything to talk about, I say we start with something that I know you enjoy. We can start with
Okay.
we can start with some anime. Uh,
Ooh.
Me personally, I enjoy anime. Not the hugest anime fan, but I've seen a few. As I'd like to know, what do you remember what your first anime you watched was?
Pokemon. Definitely Pokemon. I think my older brother just was playing or watching it one day, and I just sat down and watched it with him. And I was maybe like 4. So ever since then, I liked anime.
Yeah, it's Pokemon. That's a good one. I think a lot of people start with that. I
Yeah.
remember, yeah, my uncle used to watch it all the time, and I hated it. I
How can
don't,
you hate Pokemon?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it wasn't necessarily that I hated it. It was more he would watch it when I want to watch something else. So it's like I'm trying to watch something and you're putting this on, so it kind of gave me a little bit of a resentment for it.
Oh, that's fair. That's pretty
Yeah.
fair.
But like as I got older, I can kind of appreciate it more. And, I got into the games.
Oh,
Uh,
the games are way better,
yeah.
especially when you're older. But yeah, after that, I just played the games for a long time, but then I got really back into anime when I was maybe 12, and I just kind of watched whatever was cool to watch at my school. And then I just started watching mostly exclusively horror anime.
Okay. You have any horror anime recommendations?
Oh, Higurashi.
Igarashi.
That's a classic.
Yeah, I think the closest I've come to a horror anime was High School of the Dead.
Oh, I know how you feel about that one.
Yeah, I've told you about
That
that.
one was awful. They never even finished it. The last episode was like to be continued, and then it just never continued.
I still haven't finished it. Yeah, I started it, and it started off like kind of interesting, and then I just kind of fell off. And
It
then when
just
I,
gets too ridiculous.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess my first animes probably were like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z,
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball Z was another one.
Yu-Gi-Oh, pretty much like all the kids WB, whatever.
Yeah, that I think if your parents let you watch that, you turned into a weeb, basically.
But I didn't even I never really considered those anime just because I guess I kind of always associated it more with American culture.
Well, yeah, because your parents are always like, I'm turning on the cartoons, sweetie.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, here's some anime, honey.
Yeah, I don't even think I really knew what anime was at that point in
Yeah,
my
I
life.
definitely didn't know what an anime was then, but now I realize I was watching anime the whole time.
Yeah, like I didn't even realize those were like Japanese things. Like I
Oh,
didn't even
yeah, I
realize.
know. Because I was like, but their voices are English.
Yeah, exactly.
They're speaking English. How can it be Japanese?
Yeah, and aside from like the Yu-Gi-Ohs and Dragon Ball Z and stuff, I think my first animes that I watched, I was in sixth grade, and I remember I had two friends. I don't remember one of their names, but the other one was Jaden, and they were talking. We were in class and they were just talking about it, and I'm nosy, so I turned around like, "What are you guys talking about?" And they told me about it. So I think the first one I watched was it was called like To Love Ru or something like that.
Oh, oh my God, to Loveru.
Yes. I forgot how like the proper pronunciation is. I actually looked it up earlier and already forgot, but that was probably like the first like anime that I watched like knowing it's anime. And that's kind of how I kind of got into it because it was on like the Time Warner Cable on demand. They had like a little anime section and they
Oh
told me
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, that I would, my friends would be like, "Well, this is new on Netflix. Go watch this." And then I'd go over to my friend's house and we'd read her manga collection.
Oh, that's
And then
dope.
we'd go to the library when we were supposed to be studying and I'd just read the manga because the teen section, for whatever reason, is the only place they had the manga. So basically, if you were like an adult, they made it nearly impossible to get to unless you ordered it.
Yeah, I remember that was the first one. And then at some point, because when I started watching that, it was like halfway through the season. So I remember, just looking through what was on the Time Warner Cable, whatever. And
Hmm.
I think I saw a Clannad. They had like just put the
Oh,
first couple episodes on.
oh no. Pig
So
sad.
yeah, those were my two starter animes, which, one is super sexual comedy, and the other one is make you cry your fucking eyes out.
Oh man, big sad with the Clannad.
Yeah. But I mean, I loved it. That's what definitely got me into it and open to it. Because I think nowadays it's a little more accepted and like nerd culture and all that stuff is a little more popular. But back then, even what is that, like 10 years ago? Um,
Yeah, that's like 10 years ago.
yeah, the thought of watching anime it was like the nerd thing, and like nerds weren't quite cool yet.
Yeah, for somehow nerds became kind of cool. Still don't know how that happened.
Because all the nerds grew up pretty much.
Basically, I just wish being a nerd had been cool when I was younger.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I wasn't a nerd, but
Oh, I was big nerd. I had I had a D&D group. What does that tell you?
oh man, I've n- I've never played D&D, and I've never had friends who are into it, so I wouldn't even know like where to even begin. But I'm interested, but like it just seems daunting, like figuring out all that stuff.
It's really awkward to role play in it, I think. I always had issue with that, so I always had my friend write the dialogue for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the role play would probably be easy as long as like I'm comfortable with like who I'm with. Like I feel like if I just went to like a D&D group and they were like we're going to do it, I'd probably be kind of awkward, but cuz I enjoy acting, you know.
Oh, obviously.
Yes, obviously. Um so yeah, like I enjoy making characters and stuff. So like that is interesting for me. But like so you've played, so like what are the rules? Not the rules, but like are they like complicated to
They
like
can be. There are a lot of different editions. I haven't played in a long time, so I don't know the new editions yet. Not since I was like 15, and then when I was like 19, I hung around a game shop a lot, and we used to play there once in a while, but I was like, I just kind of filled in for someone once in a while.
okay. All right, so let's get back to the to anime. What are you into right now? What are you watching?
JoJo.
Just
Always JoJo.
I've heard a lot about it. I've heard people talking about it. I haven't checked
It's
it out yet.
it's fucking ridiculous, but can be serious and then just like it hits you with some stupid bullshit all the time.
Yeah, because I've seen it on Toonami, which is pretty much how I get most of my anime.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember I was gonna watch it because I was there like when it was premiering, and I just forgot to record it, so I just kind of missed out. And now everyone's talking about JoJo now, and I'm like, fuck, I
Yeah,
should have
because
watched it.
the JoJo fan base is cancer, basically.
So I've heard. I haven't seen it because I'm not in it, but
Oh
from
man.
people adjacent, they talk a lot of shit about him.
Yeah, it's pretty cancer. Just oh, I'm looking for something to watch, but I don't want to watch JoJo. What should I watch? And they're basically just like, watch JoJo anyways. Just do it, pussy. You won't.
But I think that's most fan bases, especially
Yeah.
if you're not in it, you know. Like, because I'm really into My Hero Academia, and I've seen some people talk about how cancer that fan base is, and I'm in the people. If someone asks what to watch, I'm like, go watch that. I'm the
Well, I
first to
mean,
recommend it.
in the Discord server I'm in, like, two out of every three people that joined is named like Todoroki Shoto or Bakugo.
Yeah, I've seen that. I saw it because they have one dude. His name was Deku, and then he changed it to
Hmm.
Todoroki.
Yeah, someone just DM'd me today named Deku. Uh, Invitation to some server. I'm not gonna join it. But I'm like, why is everyone Deku, Todoroki, or Bakugo? Like, can you please be creative?
Yeah, I'm a Sue guy. Like my favorite character is Froppy.
Yeah, my brother really likes Froppy.
Yeah,
He
she's
has Froppy merchandise. Oh my god, look at that gun that Nazbel just bought. It's glorious. In in Call of Duty Online, it's a unicorn. There, cool gun, 10 out of 10. He paid $60 for that. Should we get Brooks in here?
yeah. Brooks wants to come in here.
Carry the combo. I told you I'm very boring.
Listen, so am I. I don't know why. I'm literally only doing this out of boredom. I'm I'm honestly like not a talker. Like I think I talk a lot
Oh.
on Discord and stuff, but like in real life, I probably have, I probably don't say more than 10 sentences like in a week to other people. Like I've really just I don't talk.
Yeah, when I'm not at work, I basically just never talk. Almost never.
But podcast is something to do.
She's
Everyone's doing it.
joining.
I let dope.
Yeah, the podcast, I'm pretty impressed you went through with it.
So am I. Cause honestly, I've been thinking of starting a podcast like since before like podcasts kind of blew up, like when they were still kind of new. I saw like a couple podcasts and I was like, that seemed like something cool to do. But at the time I was like 14, 15.
Oh yeah, you're like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna talk about? I have no one
Yeah.
to come on except my friends, and they're gonna be douches the whole time.
And then it was also like, what am I really gonna talk about? Like, I don't
Right.
I don't do anything. Like at 15, I didn't do anything. I went to
You go to
school.
school and you hang out with friends and you sleep. Like, what are you gonna talk about? How much of a bitch Mrs. Smith is?
I mean, I could have cussed out a couple of teachers on the podcast, but yeah, that was my problem. A lot of my ideas that I've had, I was like really young for them,
Mm.
and it's like looking back, I could have done them, but I think it was mostly just self-conscious, thinking about who's gonna actually watch or listen if I do it.
Yeah, just maybe like your parents, even if you even tell your parents you're doing
Yeah,
it,
and
or
then
like some friends from school?
yeah, and like for me, like I cuss a lot, um, but I don't cuss around family. Like I've just started like cussing around my sisters, which even that's still kind of weird, but sometimes like I'll be talking and I like don't know
It
how else
slips
to say
out.
something. So I'm like I'll think about it in my head like I'm about to say fuck in 5 seconds and like but yeah,
The fuck word is about to come out. Cover your ears, children.
yeah, but so I don't really cuss, but like if I'm like with my friends or something, like I cuss a lot. I like doing it. So it was always like if I do like start doing YouTube or start doing a podcast and I'm just like cussing up a storm, especially like when I was thinking about it, I'm like in middle school and high school. It's like and then my parents see this and
Oh,
they're
you're
like
so grounded.
I wouldn't it's not even about being grounded cuz like my parents they would not have cared, honestly. It just would have been like awkward like oh hey, here's me cussing like crazy.
Then your mom's just gonna be like, "That's nice, sweetie. That's very nice, sweetie. I support you." But she's literally thinking about buying you your own apartment so she doesn't have to look you in the eyes anymore.
Oh, not my mom. My mom wouldn't buy me a dollar piece of gum if she had $1 million. My mom's the type she's broke all the time. She could have
Oh,
just gotten paid. She could have like $1,000 in her hand, like staring at you and tell you she's broke.
where does it go?
That's that's a great question.
Oh,
That's what
hello,
happens when
Brooks.
you already have things that you have to pay and then you
Mm.
get paid. And so it's like you don't have money because it already has places to go.
But like my mom,
That's just the life of a college student.
yeah, but my mom only time she ever gave me money was to get on the bus to go to school. Like
Oh,
like and then I mean there are a couple places here and there, where she would give me money or like for like grad night when we went to Six Flags, she gave me some money for that. Uh but yeah, she wasn't I always asked my dad for money if I needed money. And then also one thing about me is I really don't like asking for money. I know that seems crazy because I'm always asking you guys for money,
never
but
getting it, but you can ask.
but like I genuinely don't like asking for money. I don't like spending other people's money. Like it just feels weird to me. Like even my
Oh,
dad,
yeah.
like I would ask him for money and he'll give me like $20. And like I know like that $20 is gonna last a day.
Yeah,
But then
basically.
I would still like wait like 2 weeks before I was like comfortable to like be like, yo, can I get some more? Like I don't know,
Yeah,
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 it's just weird for me.
I don't usually accept money from my parents. I usually am just like, I'll just pay the bills and then you don't have to worry about it. I
I
can
think
just come
also
up with it.
I think for me, like my parents just give me money usually. Like my parents, they're just certain expenses that they just know I have and I don't have to ask them for money because they just like take care of it. Like I've never once had to ask for rent because like my dad has it automatically taken out of his account. And same with like food. Like I just get money for food. But so it's like actually asking my parents for money is very, very uncomfortable because I feel like they already give me so much that it doesn't really sit well with me to have to like ask for more, especially because like I'm the oldest by so much and I have two younger siblings who live with my mom, then like my half sister who lives with my dad, and she's like 3. And so it's like I feel like such a douchebag, like being 21 years old and being like, "Hi, like, can you give me money that you could use to feed your 3-year-old?" Like it's it makes me feel really, really crappy. So usually, thank goodness, my parents don't seem to understand how much groceries in America costs, and they give me like 3 times more than I need. So
Oh
I
my
just
God.
use that money to, you know, like keep myself going until they give it to me again. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I wish. And the thing is, like, I know with my dad, like, if I really need something, like, I could ask, but it's just something in me. I think it comes from like I don't talk, like I said earlier, like I don't talk to people. So for me, it's kind of like I think that's what kind of comes with me, my like awkwardness and not being able to talk to people is not being able to like ask my dad for help. Like even with my contacts, uh, me and my dad were supposed to go half on them, and then I just ended up paying for the whole thing myself just because I didn't want to be like, hey, I need the $500.
Oh,
I
But
don't know. Money is, it's weird, especially, yeah, because we're all at that age too where it's like we are all adults, but we're not all adults enough to the point where we have like stable jobs and can provide for ourselves. So it's just like really, really weird. Um, like when you still need things from your parents, but you just feel like you shouldn't because you're just older
oh
than that.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. I'm not into spending other people's money. Like I'll accept money though. Like if my dad's like, "Hey, you need $100," I'm not gonna be like, "No, don't give it to me." I'll gladly accept any money you're trying to give to me. But just asking for it, I don't like feeling like I'm begging for something.
Oh
Even if
Yeah.
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 My parents, my dad, he's not from here. And he always told me that he says that it is a parent's responsibility to take care and provide for their kid until their kid can provide for themselves. And that's like nice in sentiment, but it makes me feel guilty, especially because, like I said, my entire life it's like I don't know if my dad and mom, both of them, just intentionally like ignore how much things cost. But I remember I was like in the 7th grade and I was like, "Hi, Dad, like I need lunch money." And he was like, "Will these $400 work for you?" I was like,
Oh man,
"What?"
Jesus.
400 for I wish.
He was like, he was like,
Holy.
he was like, "This should last you through the semester." My mom was like, "Ronald, are you on crack?"
Are you on crack?
He's like, "Whatever she doesn't use, she can just keep for herself." I was like 11, so yeah.
Yeah, no, when I was 11, I lived with my dad for the year, and he used to give me like $5 every day for lunch. So, I mean, and that was great. I remember at one point I had like a box with like over $100 worth of $1 bills. Like I looked like a stripper, like just from the money that he gave that I never used. Because my school was weird. Like they didn't like you didn't pay up front for your or you didn't pay for your meals like when you bought them. I guess like in the beginning of the school day, the teacher would ask like who has lunch money. You give her the lunch money, and then she'd give it to the cafeteria, and then you have like money on your account or whatever. So I didn't know this because this is my
What a
first.
peculiar setup.
Yeah, that's weird. So this is my because this is my first year at this school. I was in sixth grade. I just got out of elementary, only to go back to another elementary. But the one I used to go to, it was like, yeah, you paid for your lunch when you got it, or we had like lunch tickets that you could use, or you paid like $1 or however much. So that's how I'm thinking it is. So like my first day going up to lunch, and I get my lunch, and I walk up, and the lady just asked my name. I tell her my name, and she's like, "Okay, great, go." So I'm like, "Wait, do I not have to pay for this stuff? Like I have my money in my pocket, and she's telling me to go eat." So I remember I didn't pay for lunch like for half the school year. And at some
Yeah, they
point,
probably.
and then at
They
some
probably.
point, my dad got a letter that said I owed like $120. And he was like, "What the fuck? Like, I've been giving you money for lunch." He's like, "What? Like, what have you been doing with?" I'm like, "They never asked for the money, so
I
I
bought
just
Pokemon cards with it, Dad.
no." Like after school, we had where we lived. I lived like right around the corner from the school, and then where I lived, like on one block was a 7-Eleven, and on the other block was like a corner liquor store or whatever. So I would just go to one of those like after school, like with my friends, and we would get a snack or whatever. But and then what had me even more mad was so after that they explained to me, okay, we're gonna in the morning we're gonna ask for the money and you give it to them. So now when my dad's giving me money, um, I'm giving it to the people. And I remember one day my dad, I forgot how it was brought up, but he's like, I think I'm telling him like, oh, I gave the money to the people, and he's like, oh, I paid it off for the month already, so I wasn't supposed to be giving the money, but because I just owed 100 whatever dollars. I've been giving them my money now that he was just giving me. So I was so mad. And then like I didn't even eat lunch most days. Like the only days I really ate was like they had like when they had pizza or like the chicken sandwiches sometimes they had. But other than that, like I I didn't even really eat. And then eventually I just started bringing my own lunch. So,
When
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was when I was in junior high, it was like from elementary school to junior high, lunch changed so much. So it's like, yeah, when I was in seventh grade, my dad was like, "Here, like, have all this money. This should be good for you." We used to have like really nice lunches. It was kind of a little fancy. It's like so you'd have like your regular lunch, which would be like whatever they had for the day, and you'd get like your options of what you wanted that day. Um, and then you had like all the side stuff. So then it's like you could have like you could choose from snacks. They had like brownies and Rice Krispies, and they had like all these bags of chips, and they had all these like drinks and stuff. But then it's like also in the morning they used to do this thing, this cafe thing, where they'd go around to all the classes and you could pick breakfast items that you wanted. So they had like smoothie bowls, they had breakfast burritos, they had like just like all sorts of really good like breakfast stuff. Um,
What
but I
kind
Where,
of
remember,
school?
where did you go to school?
Yeah, can I
Can I go back in time and go there?
yeah, I want to go there.
I went to public school in Miami.
Apparently a
You
different
can't
public school than I
where?
did.
But it's like I remember it was literally called I think it was called Cafe Latte, and it was like yeah, they would make cappuccinos, they would make mocha
What?
lattes, and you could like pick those things in the morning. They'd make these like breakfast pizzas that were so good, breakfast burritos, and they'd come by every single class, and strawberry smoothies, and they'd ask like what you wanted in the morning, and you would say, oh, I want like this much of this, this, and this, and then like you would pay for it with the lunch money that you'd already like put on your account, and they just bring it to you in the middle of class. It was like the best thing ever. It was literally the
What
greatest thing.
the fuck?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we had this shitty little public school lunches that's equal to what they give in jail.
Hot, hot pack, cold pack. Then no one ever ate the cold pack because it was awful.
That sounds atrocious.
Yeah, no, we had
It
these
was.
frozen bean burritos.
And the vegetables in the cold pack were like always rotten.
Like, don't get me wrong, we had some like legit like good stuff, but most of it was shit. Like the coffee cake was always bomb as hell. No matter how they tried to change it, it was always good. At one point they had like this, it was like a some type of Asian Chinese food thing that was actually like tasted good, like comparable to like Panda Express type shit.
Wow.
Like
Ooh.
so like
Impressive.
every now and again they would pull out something that was like, oh, it's like this is actually fire. But most of it was like jail food. Like there's
Yeah.
like I think there was like a study or something done where it was like no, like literally the stuff that they're giving us was pretty much the same standards that they have in jail.
So
Yeah,
I just looked
food.
up the school menu for like my little brother's school, when they still could go to school. And I'm looking up like their breakfast in the classroom menu, and it's like they have,
Breakfast? They feed them breakfast?
yeah, breakfast in the
Oh
classroom.
no, no, they did start doing breakfast in the classroom my senior year, and that was like the most mind-blowing thing. Well, I think they had already started doing it at the school, but I went to a different school and then I transferred back. So when I came back and they were doing breakfast in the classroom, that was like the most mind-blowing thing to me. Like, wait, they bring the breakfast
That's
here?
what I've been saying. That's what they
No,
did.
yeah, no,
They were
we
just
did that, but it wasn't on the scale that you're talking. Like, it was like they had Cheerios and the shitty milk that's not real milk no matter what they tell you.
Yeah, definitely not real milk.
I think the best thing that they had for breakfast, they had like these little Pillsbury like bagel things, but they weren't like a bagel. I forgot what they were called, but those were actually good. But other than that, I don't think I ate anything for breakfast. It was always nasty. It was that and then the coffee cake. But
Ooh, coffee cake.
yeah, that was always good from when I started school at 4 years old to when I got out at 18.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they ever did the breakfast while I was in school because I'm older than both of you. So
You're like a
that must
year
have been.
or
But see, they
two.
did it my entire junior high and high school like experience. It was just something that we always had, and
What in the hell?
yeah, you know what my favorite? We had some lunches that were so good too. Like I think my favorite day was we'd have like basically Thanksgiving dinner for lunch, where they'd make like turkey and gravy and mashed potatoes, and they'd make like we'd have like oh my goodness, and then like they used to make mac and cheese, and that was so good. But then chili days were also so good because they made cinnamon rolls that were like the size of your head.
It's
Oh my goodness,
Brooks.
so
What are
good.
you? Oh man,
Brooks,
yeah, no,
And
that wasn't a thing.
and
we
we had
can't
like
relate to this.
we had like ravioli days, and like I loved ravioli. It was so freaking good, and they would make garlic bread, and you would literally see them in there like making all this garlic bread for us that was delicious. And
Yeah,
then we
no,
would have like chicken fajitas day. We would have like they'd make like enchiladas, which were always really good. Grilled cheeses were amazing. Like I miss school lunch so
okay.
much.
See, we had like that stuff, but it wasn't like quality. Like it was like they made it in some factory somewhere,
Yeah, like
bagged it
some
up,
kids made it.
froze it, and then the
Just
cafeteria
unthawed it.
laters, yeah, the
And then
cafeteria ladies heated it up.
yeah, like in that giant oven. Do you remember? Did you ever get to see that oven that they? It was huge.
Yeah.
I remember one time when I was a senior, I used to, because like my siblings are so much younger than me, and so I was like going off to college, and I used to bring them lunch so we could like eat together and like spend more time with them. And I remember I'd get there early and I'd sit like at the table where their class would sit, and you would literally see their lunch ladies back there like putting some elbow grease, literally mashing these potatoes, and I was like, quality, this is good. So.
Yeah, no, that's not what we had at
What?
all.
My mind is so blown. Like, what the fuck?
So you went to like the schools that they have in TV where you're watching
Yeah.
and you're like, school is nothing like this. But apparently it is wherever Brooks is from.
Yeah, I wanna. Can I
But
go
the
back in
thing is that
time?
it's literally just school lunch that was like that. I'm telling you, nothing else about that school experience was interesting. Well, actually, no. My school did have technically like the nicest track in the entire state. I think one of like the top three nicest indoor tracks in the whole country. And it was so nice, like the University of Wyoming would literally drive all the way up to my town to have their indoor meets. It was phenomenal. It was so nice. So we had like actually we did have quite a few nice things. We got a new track and a new like football field at the same time. And then the two high schools, like it used to be one high school, but then it split into two, and so then they basically like rebuilt the second school. Because the way it used to be was like freshmen were freshmen, but they were in the junior high, but they could still like compete in varsity sports and stuff. And then sophomores got an entire school just to themselves, and it was like so pretty. You'd like walk in, be like this long hallway, and the school had these two like gigantic like winding staircases. They were so pretty. And then juniors and seniors got their own school, but then they changed that, and so now the other school, the sophomore school, is its own school now, and then the junior senior school is its own school, and then I don't think freshmen are in the junior highs anymore. I'm pretty sure my little brother is in an actual high school now. So, yeah, that's my high school experience.
Yeah, no.
Wow. Yeah, for high school, I went to a half online, half in-person school. So basically, just whenever I felt like coming in, there was like one day a week I had to come in at a certain time. But other than that, if you didn't want to come in, they didn't make you. And there were certain circumstances where you didn't even have to come in for like the whole month. You could just do
What?
video chat with the teacher. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, no. I didn't do any I didn't do any of that. I went to two different high schools. I went to one for ninth grade and 12th grade, and then I went to another for 10th and 11th. And they were, I don't know, they were just regular. I don't know. They were just regular high schools. But even still now, like with my job, a lot of times we'll film on like at actual high schools, and like even just like different high schools around LA. Like I'll be going to, and I'll be like, kids go like this is a high school. Like it's nicer than what I went to because I remember I considered the second high school that I went to for 10th and 11th grade. I considered that a nice high school, and that was just because they had like two buildings with classes in it, and that was like my idea of this is a nice high school.
Two buildings with classes in it?
Yes, because before that, every school I'd ever gone to didn't have like any actual buildings. They were all like just bungalows and like just different sets of bungalows scattered around. So the
Wow.
fact, yeah, so the fact that this uh Hamilton High School is the high school I went to, um the fact that they had like two buildings was like crazy to me because like growing up like you watch TV and they have all these schools with these big buildings and the schoolhouse, and it's like all of my experience has been these open schools with just bungalows that you go to. So that was like my standard for being a nice high school. And then now I go to like different high schools around the city, and they're nicer than the college that I went to for that one year. Like, and I'm just like, how, like, it blows my mind to think about like the different school experiences that kids have just based on what school they go to and what the funding is, what um I guess the infrastructure of the school is so different. Like, so like hearing about you, Revy, being online, half there, but you didn't really have to be there. Like that's
Yeah, I think
crazy.
most of my high school was just me and a couple of friends, either at the library or at like a cafe.
I hate to interrupt here, but there is like a conspiracy afoot. I believe a crime is taking place. I
Oh,
just searched up I searched up my high school, and there's this web I searched up my high school and I saw a picture of me, like, triple jumping doing track. And I click on it, and it's from like a website in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is not where I grew up. And then the plot thickens because they have pictures from every single sport that took place in my town. And these are all people that I went to school with. So I'm like, what the heck? Somewhere out there, there is a school in Minnesota impersonating being a school from Wyoming. And I don't know
what?
why.
Why?
I have
Why
no
would you need
idea.
to?
I have no. It literally says sports. It says sports. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Portrait, news, and music. But it's a photo of me, and I click visit, and it's literally people that I've gone to school with since like the first grade, and a couple of other people I don't know. But I'm like, for what reason? What is happening here? This is a conspiracy.
Wow, conspiracy. We need to get to the bottom of this.
I mean, maybe the photographer like now lives in Minneapolis. I don't
But
know,
why would
but
they use that for that schools?
yeah, because it's all sports, my school sports, all of it. So, I mean, they have girls basketball, swimming, they have gymnastics. Well, no, see, now the Kentucky one is from, it says the gymnastics is from Mount Sterling, Kentucky. So now that's confusing too. And then they have boys wrestling, and that's from Laramie, which is also in my state. But so now I'm very confused. And they have some kid from South Dakota doing the saddle bronc. I don't
You
know.
should like email that website and be like, what the fuck?
Be like,
This
can
is
I
from
have
my
these
school.
photos of me back?
This is from my school, not from yours.
It's just confusing. I don't know. I'll have to look further into this, see what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely look into that. I, wa- I want an update.
Yeah, update us frequently. I'm curious now.
Yeah, it says, so the guy here, it says St. Paul, Minnesota, and it's his personal work photography, I guess. So, I don't know. But why is it all pictures of high school athletes? I want to say this is none of my business, but this actually is my business.
Wait, is this a school's website?
No, it's not a school website. That's what
What?
I'm saying. Maybe it's like the photographer,
Yeah, is it the
but
photographer's website?
I mean, no, it's not his name. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know why his entire. Especially because, like, these are photos that I saw in my town's newspaper. Like, I've seen these photos of me before, and they were in the newspaper. So, wouldn't that technically be the newspaper's photos then? I
Yeah,
have no idea.
the
When
newspaper photographer could have
it
like
who
sold
well
that.
whoever took them, they own the rights to the picture.
Okay.
And technically they can do like whatever they want with them, even if it's like saying, "Oh, this is actually someone from Minnesota, not
But
from
yeah, that's
Wyoming."
still weird.
It's just weird though, because it's like, why would your entire professional work portfolio consist of photos of high school students doing sports?
Maybe
I don't
he's
know.
a sports photographer.
Yeah.
I guess it's just strange, but anyway, back to this riveting discussion on high
On
school
high school.
disparities around the country.
Yeah. What kind of students were you guys?
Oh, um I worked hard and then I got enough credits to graduate by 16 and then I just kind of fucked off after that. I was like, I'm still enrolled. I'm just not going.
I was a pretty good student. Honestly, I was that student that were my junior year I had this my chem professor, and oh my goodness, like I can't even call teachers teachers anymore. Thanks college. But so my junior year, my chem teacher, she would give us back our assignments that she graded, but then in the grade book, she would like put in zeros or something. And it was so annoying. And so I used to have to come in almost every single morning and be like, "Hi, Mrs. Hanson, you gave me a zero. I have the paper here that clearly says I got a 96. Please fix this." And it was like every single morning. I don't know why it was so difficult for her, but I was
Was she
that kind of
old?
student. Yeah, I mean, she was like maybe in her mid 50s. I don't know.
Mm.
It's not really old enough to not know how to use a computer.
I mean, it might be. It might be.
But I mean, if teaching is your profession and the computer's been around since like 1970, come on, Miss Hanson. You have no excuse.
Yeah, I
Whose
was.
adorable dog is that?
It's annoying. Um, but I was. I did this last podcast too.
It?
I
You're gonna refer to your dog as an it?
This is not my dog. It's my sister's dog,
What
and
kind of dog is it?
Yorkie.
Ooh, those are
Aww.
so cute.
But she's not even home to take care of it. So,
Take care
but
of the poor thing.
anyways, um, what was I saying?
You're
Oh yeah,
talking
what?
about the kind of student you were.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was. I wasted school, honestly. Like like you know how like teachers always say like, oh, they're a good student. They just don't apply themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. Like
Oh.
usually when teachers say it, they're lying and the kid is just stupid. But
Oh.
for me that was like genuinely like what I was not applying myself cuz I was the type where I didn't study, I didn't I didn't do anything. I would just show up, take a test and pass, you know. I didn't do any homework. I never studied. I remember my chemistry class. That was 10th grade. I just transferred. And so I get into class. I don't know anybody, so I don't have any friends or anything. And my teacher was either he was Greek or he was Armenian. I forget which. But he had like this super thick accent. And no one was like,
Accent.
huh?
I enjoy though. I enjoy accents. Continue.
No, I mean, but he was hard to understand, and then like with chemistry, especially with all the different formulas and molecules and all that stuff, it's like, and then he had super sloppy handwriting and insisted on using a chalkboard instead of a whiteboard.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it just all around it was like kind of difficult. So I remember the highest grade anyone had ever got on any of his tests was like a C. Like that was the highest grade anyone had ever gotten. And then I transferred into the school like a month late. So when I get in there, I'm like, I'm not really understanding what this dude's saying. I'm not really can't read what he's writing. So usually he would give us like go through, do definitions or whatever on this chapter, and then do whatever the fuck you want. So usually I would go through, do them, and then fall asleep. And I remember the first test I had, I ended up getting like the highest grade. I got a B, and everyone was just like looking at me like, "You're sleeping for half the class. How did you just come in here and get the highest grade?" And like so like that's kind of how I was like as a in terms of like I guess intelligence. Like it didn't take really much for me to understand things, and I think that doomed me because then it became if I ever had to do something where I had to think or like actually use my brain and I couldn't just naturally just do it and be done, like I just didn't want to do it. So, yeah, and then by especially by 10th grade, I knew I wasn't going to college. I knew I didn't care about any of that. So I just kind of gave up. Like I got to school late every day. I remember I used to get to like school started at like I think 7:40 and I would get to school anywhere between like 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. One time, like the security guard, I got to school one day and he just looked at me and he was like, "I've been letting you slide, but like you can't keep coming to school at 10 o'clock before I have to report you to someone." And then I started getting to school at 9, and then I graduated.
Wow, riveting
Mm,
story.
My school always used to have it where, like, oh Jesus, hold on. A corona cough is coming. Okay. So like my school used to start at 7:40, I believe, and I would leave my house at around 6:40 so I could get my parking spot. Like we didn't have assigned parking. And the way it was that juniors had to park in the back of the school, which sucked, and only seniors could park in the front by the doors. And my spot that I liked was right next to staff parking, but it was like one of the go-to spots, and I did not like to walk because I just like didn't want to have to walk an extra 6 or so feet. And so I would get to school at like 7 o'clock just so I could get my spot. Then I would go inside and I would usually go to like one of like our like the varsity lockers and I don't even know what I would do. I guess I would just like put away my stuff for practice early and then I'd like go set my backpack down in like my first hour class. And then I just like wait for all my friends to come and then I would just talk to them for like 30 minutes. And so I was always on in class on time. Leaving class, however, that was a different thing. Especially my senior year, around second semester, I was like, I've already been accepted to college. I already have all my scholarships. I do not care in the slightest bit. And so I had my mom call me out a second hour almost every single day saying that I was going to have her just so I could like go and like get food and like take a nap. And props to Olivia for that. What a good mom. But in my second hour class was sports training, which is like you couldn't play a varsity sport without it. And so it's like it wasn't like it was a class that I was going to fail, but then also it wasn't like it was a class that I was going to get in trouble in because like what were they going to do? Be like, "Oh, like look, you didn't pass sports training, so now you can't run." I'm like, "Okay, who's going to win the hurdles?" But no, it wasn't like that. But you know what I mean. So that's the kind of student I was towards the end. But I always tried my best. Like I always got really good grades and I was like a teacher's dream. I'm not even kidding parent teacher conferences were the best time of the entire year because, especially in junior high and high school, because it was basically me taking my mom around to meet 8 other adults that were telling her that I was like the best student they had all the time. They were like, "You have such a great kid. She's so smart. She's so nice. Like, she's just like a joy to have in my class, and she's just going to do like so well and whatever in the future." And my mom was always like, "Oh, yay!" But she says that now, like my little brother, he hates it because everyone's always like, "Oh, like your sister did this, and your sister's like this, and your sister," and he's like, "Yeah, fuck her."
Oh.
Yeah, he says that I kind of have really made things difficult for him because people expect him to like constantly put in effort and like do all this stuff in school and in sports and like in everything. Because I did like art and I did like music stuff and I, yeah, played sports and yeah, so he's like, there's so much pressure, which makes me a little sad, but also he's a big boy. He'll be fine.
My brother doesn't have that problem because I'm a total failure in every aspect of my life.
Jesus Christ, Revy.
Is it a lie?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's
No, I
very
think
nice.
only time. Yeah, I haven't really had that problem. I know. I remember my sister. When she got to middle school, she went to a middle school that I went to, and I remember the only time one of her teachers, like, I guess she saw her name and was like, "Hey, or is your brother Armani?" And the weird thing about it is the teacher that like recognized it was a teacher that I didn't even have. So it was like, how, what? Like, how did you know who I was to know that?
Why do you remember me,
Yeah,
woman?
why?
Who are you?
Well, it was a dude, but like, I knew of him, you know. I mean, it wasn't like a teacher that it was like a complete stranger, but it wasn't someone who should have recognized that we were brother and sister, especially considering I have a pretty common last name.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Yeah, it's very common.
And then like me and my sister, we don't necessarily look alike. I mean, I guess if you saw us together, you might know that we're brother and sister, but it's not like we're like dead ringers on each other to where you would see the last name and be like, "Oh, that's your brother." But yeah, that's the only time I've had anything like that. But my parents got so used to, like, as far as parent teacher conferences go, to like the teacher saying that I don't do anything in class, like that I'm smart, but I'm not working, I'm not doing the work, I'm not doing homework. That I forget which teacher it was, but one of my teachers randomly called my mom to just like rave about me and tell how like great I was and how I'm so smart and I'm doing all this in class. And like my mom came to me like what was this? Like no teacher has ever been so excited about you like this. And when I think back on high school, that's kind of like how I got through high school. Because I think about most of the classes that I passed, I probably shouldn't have passed, but because the teacher liked me, like I just kind of got through. Like I remember my senior year, I had a film class, and it was third period, and I ended up doing the school play, but for the play, they rehearsed at during third period. So eventually I just stopped going to like my actual film class, and for some reason my teacher still gave me an A, and I don't know
Wow.
why. And I think it's one of those things where it's like it has to just because you liked me. Because when I first started the class, like I was kind of the only person who had any interest in film, so I think that kind of helped out. But I did not deserve to pass at all.
Wow, Cuddy, you are a very bad boy.
bad, Cuddy.
I mean, honestly,
I remember my school used to do this thing where it's like if you had a certain GPA, you could get out of class early, so you only had to go to like 3 classes. And I took this college art class for like dual enrollment that I really, really liked because I like to draw and I like to paint. And it was more than what I was expecting because like the year before I had just taken like, this art class and it was just like how to draw and like draw well. Um, and I liked it a whole lot. And so I thought it was going to be more like that, but then this art class, it was all these like conceptual pieces and it's like they wanted me to think about stuff and it wasn't just like me sketching still lifes anymore, which is what I really, really like. um, and I remember we had to get these permission slips from our parents so we could go to the art center and sketch naked people. And I remember I was like, absolutely not. You want me to ask my mother to give me permission to go and draw nude men? I am 16 years old. Absolutely not.
Wait, I'm interested. Continue.
And so I remember oh my God, I'm admitting this. I forged my mother's signature, never showed it to her. And I basically just told her that yeah, Mom, I was like, I'm just going to the art center just to, just like paint.
Wow,
I'm just
forged.
taking a painting class. And
I'm
she was like,
calling the police.
and she was like, "Oh, how nice. Okay." And so I would go from like 7 o'clock to like 9:30 at night every single Tuesday, and I would go and I would sketch like naked men and women, and I would hide like had this huge thing of these sheets of papers, and I hid them in the trunk of my car, like underneath the area that you like pick up, that like comes up. I hid it under there, so she would never find them ever. And and I was just like, she can never know ever. So, um, yeah. So most of the time, I got out early from my third hour class, which was AP Calc, and then I would just go. I would either go home and nap, or I would just get in my car and I would go and I'd put gas in it, and then I would just drive around. Um, just on like empty roads, like just going wherever for hours for like an hour and a half. Like I'd go on the interstate or something, or I would, go to this art class and I just sit in my little area in the back and I would just draw and paint. It was actually really relaxing. Or I remember when we started painting, I like using oil paints a lot. I don't like acrylics because they like dry right away. But it's like oil paints, you can still move them and you can still like do so much with them. They're so fluid. And obviously they're what the Renaissance masters used, and I love Renaissance art. But so I would I learned that it takes a long time to get oil paints to dry on these like gigantic canvases that were kind of made out of a weird type of cardboardy wood, which is what we would paint on. And so my art teacher, he was like, well, what you can do is you can go and like find backgrounds that you do like if you don't want to like paint them yourself. And there was a way that I'd go to the photography class, and basically you would print out these photos on these gigantic sheets. And then there was a way that you would cover these sheets with this weird, um, this like weird liquid, like thick liquid stuff. And you would let it dry, and you would put, I think, 2 coats of it on. And then you would have to get it really, really wet, and then you would peel away the paper, and whatever had been on the paper would like transfer to the weird material. And then I could put that on the canvases, and then I'd have to like put another layer of this clear type of paint on, and that could be like my background. And it was really, really pretty. So usually that was actually what I did. So it wouldn't be actually taking time out of like my painting and stuff. But yeah, that's what I did with my free time. Definitely didn't do calc homework.
Basically, the only artistic thing I ever did was pottery. I still have some of my pottery from when I was younger. It's not very good, but
That's no. I did a ceramics class for like a month my junior year, and I wish I had stayed in it because I got out of it to go into a math class. Um, what was it for? Pre-calculus slash trigonometry. So I got out of it to go into that class, but by the time I got into the math class, it was already a month into the school year, and they had already like learned a bunch of things, and like they learned like some base thing that everything else for the rest of the year was like based off of. So I had missed that. So I didn't understand anything from that point forward, and that was one of the classes I failed. But I usually got out of school early too because I don't like the school I went to. They had 7 periods, but if you had a seventh period, school didn't end until 4:20 like p.m. So my
420 blazes.
yeah, but for me that's crazy because every school I'd ever went to was you got out at 3, 2:30, something like that. And for everyone who had 6 periods, they would get out at 3. And my seventh period was Spanish 2, which I know zero Spanish.
Oh, it really taught you a lot.
And the Spanish 2 teacher spoke almost exclusively Spanish, like in her class. Like she didn't speak English. Like, I mean, she did sometimes, like when she had to, but most of the time she would just be speaking Spanish. And I was in there and I'm like, I have no fucking clue what you are saying. I don't know what any of this is. Only thing I can do in here is conjugate verbs. Other than that, I have no clue what I'm doing. So I'm like, I'm not gonna stay in class until 4:20 in the afternoon just to fail. So I would just like after sixth period, I would just leave. And yeah, so I would get out of school early that way. And then my 11th grade year, I didn't have a seventh period. But my sixth period was a play production class, and since I wasn't in the play, I really didn't have to do anything. So my teacher, he was like, "I'll give you two options. You can either sit in class, shut up, and watch, and I'll give you an A, or just come in, check in, and then you can leave, and I'll give you a B." So I would just after lunch, I would check into class, and then I would go home, and I would get home at like 1. So I had some good things in high school. Not good for like going to college, but good for me.
Yeah, I skipped out on college. I don't know why. I just basically just got a job that required me to be at work almost all day. I'd go to work starting at like sometimes 2 a.m. and then I'd take a nap in the car and then I'd go back to work until like 2 a.m. the next day.
That is horrible. How you
Yeah, it
worked.
was really awful. I got to travel a lot, which was just about the only good thing about that job.
And only reason I went was pretty much to like get my mom to shut up. Like, like growing up, I wanted to go to college. Like when I was younger, they teach all the kids, you go to college, blah blah blah. And then because I was kind of smart, you know, actually like going to college seemed like a actual thing that I could do. Um, and like realistically, because I know some people who went to my high school who got like full rides to UCLA, and I look at them and I'm like, we're on, as far as intelligence goes, we're on the same level. Only difference is they worked and I didn't. So, like, thinking back, like, I could have gone to college if I really wanted to, but I think by 10th grade, I knew it's that wasn't something I wanted to do. So I just kind of gave up as far as school went. And then after I graduated, um, I just went to community college for like a year so that my mom couldn't say anything about me not doing anything. And then they moved to Georgia, so she was gone, and I just stopped going. That was the extent of my college. Even when I was there, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I took college courses in high school. My last 2 years of high school were advanced courses and college courses. So I did like a lot of advanced Englishes and sciences, and then I had to go do like community service. And then for because I was on the honor roll because I had a 3.9 grade point average throughout high school. Um, and then just after that, I don't know, I was pooped out basically. I could have gone to college, but I was just exhausted and everything.
I never really even considered that there was any other option in the slightest besides going to college. Like, I wanted to be a surgeon from the time I was 6 years old. Like, there was not another option. And if I wasn't going to be a surgeon, I was going to be a lawyer. And so it's like, I don't know. I started planning for colleges when I was like 15 years old. So I don't know. That was just what we were going to do.
Well, with the money I get, like from taxes and stuff, I'm thinking of maybe like going to veterinary school, like to be a vet tech. That might be fun. I might take programming classes because that was what I initially wanted to do. I wanted to program like games,
Mm.
but I don't know. I couldn't do it. I I lost interest, I guess, because like I said, I was at work all day and I had no room to do anything else.
Yeah, that's how I have to be interested in whatever I'm doing. Otherwise, I just can't do it. Especially now, because it's like one thing with school is like, I mean, you had to go every day, but now it's like anything you do, like as an adult, it's like you doing. So I'm not gonna go out
Hmm.
and I'm not gonna pay for college to do something that I don't want to do, you know? And I think by high school, I knew, or at least I had in my mind, like, if I was gonna do something, it was gonna be in entertainment. It was gonna be like being an actor or doing music or doing something as far as like artistic. And so I was kind of like, I really don't need college to do any of that. Like, I could go to college and there are some skills that I could learn, but you know, I just didn't need it. So I thought, at least for me, it was better not to waste money going to college if I didn't need it. And so I didn't. And here I am, not doing anything. So it all worked out.
Oh, feels bad, but I feel you.
But you know, one thing I can say is I'm not doing anything because of me. Like, I can't blame anyone else or anything else for where I am today. You know, so I mean,
Oh yeah, same.
yeah, like I know
I
there are a lot
can
of people who will blame it was this or that. Like, of course, I can go back and be like, well, if I did this differently or if I did this, I'd probably be in a better position. But at the
I
end of
can
the day, it's on me.
I can probably blame uh my what's it called? Like my mental condition at the time, but it's still not really an excuse. Severe crippling anxiety and depression isn't really an excuse.
Yeah, like that's kind of how I am. But especially for me, like that's something for what I want to do that it's just kind of you have to get over. And I think that's one of the things like with this podcast, like wanting to do it, like even if it's boring as fuck, even if it sucks, even if no
Even
one
if like
listens
no
to
one
it.
watches it
Yeah,
or
even
listens, rather.
it's like at least I went out, at least I did it,
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
especially cuz like with music and with um acting and stuff, it's such a social game,
Mhm.
which I'm not good at. Like I don't like said it earlier, I don't talk to people. Like I don't know how to start a conversation. I don't know how to network and all that stuff. So it's like
Mhm.
all the side extra stuff is kind of what's deterred me from a lot of things. But like I'm eventually gonna like get back into it and just start doing things on my own. Like this podcast. Like this for me was like the start of going towards something that can get me somewhere instead of just, not doing anything.
Damn, Cuddy, that's super inspirational, actually.
You know,
Good for you.
I'm an inspirational person.
I know, obviously. Look at the title of the podcast.
Yeah,
Cuddy's moral compass.
I have great
More moral and inspirational.
I have some morals in me that I think people will really
Oh, can
connect
we
with.
talk about your morals?
I think that's for another podcast.
Oh, for another podcast. This has been going on quite a while.
Yeah, this it's been fun. I mean, is there anything else you guys are
Mm,
itching to talk about? Anything?
We don't have questions this time around.
do we have
No,
questions?
no.
Oh God, quick ask
Oh,
some in chat.
we.
Even in Animoya or whatever. Quick ask.
You know what we can do? There was one topic
Oh.
that that me and Revy were supposed to talk about, but
Oh.
now
What's the
that Brooks is
topic?
here, I think it's perfect. Let's see who asked. I think it was Kachi asked that we talk about sorority recruitment.
Oh.
Ah.
I know Zippo. Zip.
Oh my goodness, the horrors of sorority recruitment. Let's see. Where do we begin? Should I tell you about my horrors as a potential new member or my horrors as a actual active?
Oh, I think as a what is it? A pledge is what they
Okay,
call it.
potential new member. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Pledges are for frat. Okay. Okay. So when I was um when I was a potential new member, one of the things that we had to do that was kind of like horrifying was that they sent you this book after you registered, and it was like this thick book of literally like hundreds of pages. It was at least like 100 pages, and it was like about every single house and like their colors and like GPAs and their charity. And then they also in this book sent you what you had to wear. Um, and so it's like Sorority Rush takes place over a couple of days, and each day has a different agenda, like a different initiative. And so the first 2 days are just like the days where you get to see the sisters and like meet the house or whatever. And I remember when I got this book, I was like freaking out because I was like, I do not have any of this stuff. And so I spent a month just running around my town like crazy, just shopping for lots of skirts, shopping for cute shorts, buying lots of dresses, shopping for like summer shoes, sundresses, purses, handbags, like, just like constantly shopping. I think I shopped every single day nonstop for maybe like 2.5, 3 weeks. And at the end of that, I still was like, I do not have enough stuff for sorority rush. I really don't. Um, but and then it was weird for me too because sorority rush wasn't even like the reason that it wasn't the only thing I had going on. The way the University of Kentucky did it, if you were in like a STEM major, there was this kind of like a week of classes that came before the actual week of classes, and um, and so I was there for that. And then I also had track stuff. So every day I had meetings for compliance. I had to like meet coaches. I had team meetings. I had to go and do these stuff like physicals. I had to take blood tests. Like I had a lot of stuff going on. And so it was basically like me, uh, in like my little dress and heels, sprinting all across University of Kentucky's campus. But so they split you up into these groups, and your groups, it's like your Gamma Chi group, and you have like your Gamma Chi leader. And mine, her name was Lauren, and Lauren was actually really, really sweet. And the thing about like your Gamma Chi is that like you're not supposed to know what sorority they're in, so they can't like influence your overall decision. But so the first day, I think I saw 9 or 10 houses. Um, and the first house or two, you're like really nervous and excited, but then by the end of the day, you want to jump off a cliff because it's the exact same thing. Basically, it's all of these girls, hundreds of girls in line outside these houses, and they put you in an order that they have predetermined from when you registered. And they open the door, like one of like the president or social chair, whoever opens the door, and then in there is all the girls, and they like do like a little song for you, and they say hello, and they all have their perfect matching outfits, full hair and makeup, and they're very, very happy and very, very nice. And then you walk in, you have to put like your purse down or whatever before, and then as you walk in the house they have someone that announces your name, and they're really, really happy. So like if it was Revy, for example, it would be like Alpha Delta Pi welcomes Revy, like exactly like that, for hundreds of girls over and over and over again. And by the end of the
Wow.
day, you're going psychologically, you're literally going insane. It was like Alpha Delta Pi welcomes Stacy. Kappa Alpha Theta welcomes Taylor. Like just over and over and over again.
That
So
would make me want to kill myself.
that's why I said by the end of the day you want to kill yourself. And then
That, yeah.
they used to give us rules about like what we could or couldn't talk about. And so it was like you have the 3 B's. You can't talk about boys, you can't talk about like religion, Bible, and you can't talk about bank account money. However, if you want to get in a good sorority, having a nice personality will only get you halfway. Being really, really pretty will also only kind of get you a little bit. Money is really what's important because nice sororities cost a crap ton of money every
Oh,
single semester.
GG, I'd never get in one then.
And so it's like you weren't supposed to talk about money, and you had to leave like your purse and stuff outside. So you had to show that you had money through like everything that you wore. And so it's like that's part of the reason why they were like we all have to kind of wear the same things. So it's like the first 2 days we all had like the same shirts, and then the only thing we could change up was like shorts and shoes. So that would be like one thing, but then girls would also have like $2,000 Tiffany necklaces, and like these like gigantic like Michael Kors watches, and like $200 sandals, and like things like that. Just like little things to show that you have money and that you could like afford to be in that sorority. Because it's like, friends that you pay for. Um, but so yeah, it's like very superficial. And then the questions that they ask you are just so surface level, because it's like the questions that matter about the sorority and such aren't questions that are brought up until later days. It's like already scheduled to have those things. So it's like the first day, like, nobody even talks about, like, you don't talk about, like, the charity, like, you don't talk about, like, why they picked that sorority, like, you don't talk about any of that stuff. It's just like, where are you from? What are your hobbies? Like, how many siblings do you have? What's your favorite color? Like, stupid stuff like that. And you have these conversations. You talk to 2 or 3 different girls in every single house. So you have these like 10-minute conversations. So you're in a house for 20 so minutes talking. And then you do that 9 or 10 times. So that's about 200 hours, 200 minutes worth of talking about what your name is and what your favorite color is and your hometown. And it's just the exact same conversation over and over again, with different girls that look exactly the same, whose names you cannot remember. Actually, I remember one girl from Tridelt. Her name was Olivia, and I remember her because that's my mom's name. But I kid you not, I do not remember the name of any other girl I spoke to during sorority rush that first day, including girls in the sorority I actually, pledged. So, whoops. Um, but so yes, then you do that, and then the next day you wake up and you do it all over again. And so it's like this entire time, though, you're supposed to be writing notes about the sorority, what you like how the girls were, and you rate the sorority. And you're supposed to be putting them in order of which sorority you like the most and which one you like the least. Because at the end of the day, you have to drop 4. However, it's not like you get all the power because they are also judging the heck out of you. And at the end of the day, I didn't discover this until I was doing recruitment, but at the end of the day, you sit down and the sorority goes through every single girl that they've talked to, and they vote on whether they like you or not. And then they either give your Gamma Chi an invitation, and it's like, these are all the girls from your group that we want to talk to um, the next day. And it's like, it's kind of sad because some girls get callbacks from 10 sororities. It's like everyone they spoke to loved them. And then some girls get callbacks from 6 sororities, which is still good. And then some girls don't get a callback from a single sorority, and that hurts. Because then they're just like not in your Gamma Chi group anymore, and it's very, very uncomfortable. Because everyone's like, oh, what happened to Sophia? And it's like, oh, she's just not here anymore. But yes, and the second day, that was the day that they talked about the charities that they did. I remember some of the charities that I went over was like Phoenix Children's Hospital, St. Jude's. There was one that was about domestic abuse, all just like honestly really good causes. And every single sorority basically like picks a charity that they support, like their national partner, and they do events throughout the year to raise money to give to this organization, which is like the best part about sororities, I guess. And I remember I really actually wanted to be a Tridel just because, like St. Jude's, like I wanted to be a doctor and kids with cancer, that's what I wanted. Um, Spoiler, I am not a Tridelt. But so that day isn't too bad, but that day is the first day I believe that you have to wear, I think you have to wear a dress that day. Was it? No. That day you have to wear a skirt, but you get to wear a top of your choice. And you have to wear sandals. You cannot wear, no. I think you had to wear wedges. You couldn't wear sandals or flats or like regular running shoes. Um, yeah. And then the third day after that is like the sisterhood day, and so that's the day where all the sisters tell you like why they picked their sorority. And that day, it's they all cry and stuff, but it's like really not an emotional day for you. Like they tell you it's going to be, but it's like you don't really feel anything at all. And then for sisterhood day, usually you only are down to 4 sororities. And then after sisterhood day, you have Preference Day. And Preference Day is like the biggest day because it's where you go to your last two houses. And then at the end of it, you have to go to this building and they give you a card. It's called like Mr. Abbott card. And you fill it out and it's like you choose the sororities that you want, your two sororities in the order that you want them in. And your first sorority is like, this is the one I want to go into. And the second one is like, this sorority I also like. But it's like the sorority that you put down as being your number one might not be the sorority that picks you as their number one. You might get the one that you pick as your number two. But it's like you have to put down two because if you put down one, the way they told us is that it's basically saying that you would rather not be in any sorority at all than be in the one that is like your number two, which I guess is like a really shitty thing to do. But so that day isn't too bad. And then the final day is bid day. And bid day is super exciting, except for you wake up really, really early in the morning and everyone has to wear white dresses, which, if we're being honest, where a large group of people wearing white in a southern state is a little bit concerning, but I guess no one cares. Anyway, so yeah, so you just wear, you get up early, you put on like full hair and makeup, you wear white dresses, and you have to wear like nude colored heels. It's like a requirement from the book. And you go in your Gamma Chi group to this like huge auditorium, and they give you a card and like some flowers, and then they reveal the sorority that your Gamma Chi leader was in. And then at the same time, everyone opens their cards and sees the sorority they got, and it's literally thousands of girls just screaming, suddenly screaming like crazy. And then everyone gets up and starts running and trampling each other to get to their spot. And then you talk to your pledge class, and then you go down, and then you all like run across the field, like up sorority row in your white dresses and heels to go to your new house. And then the older sisters give you outfits for whatever theme it is that they're throwing, and then you just like party on the lawn for the rest of the night. Um, Honestly, being a potential new member, like the process of it is not that bad. It's like what happens afterwards that kind of is horrifying because that's when they start telling you things like, okay, um, we have meetings and like if you miss a meeting you're going to get fined. By the way, this is how much all this costs you. And then they tell you like if you wear your stitch letters without full hair and makeup in public you will be fined. um, it just becomes very culty. um, and then it's like even all the way up to initiation it's not at all what you expect. It's like really not fun. And you don't even get to like pick. The process of like picking your big is weird because like they pick one for you to begin with, and they just give you like new partners every single week. They just like basically bounce you in between all these girls, just seeing like who you'll fit in with, and then they just like give you a big, which is an exciting day. But I don't know. It's just like it's a really weird process that really shouldn't be a way that people make friends. But I don't know. I guess for some people it works.
Wow, that sounds extremely stressful.
Yeah, it's worse when you're actually an active. Because when you're actually an active, it's like that's when they're like, oh, like okay, we have all of these girls who are really really cute, and we have girls who are not as cute. And so if they don't think you're as cute, they will literally hide you in the very back of the house or not even invite you to do rush at all.
Oh,
And
I would be the one not getting
Oh,
invited. Feels bad.
so lucky I'm attractive.
Must feel
no,
good to be attractive.
because if you do get invited and you don't, they will if you do get invited and you don't like go, they'll fine you for it. So it's like I don't know, they're just always looking for opportunities to take your money. And then the big thing that they lord over you all the time is standards. And they're always like, oh, like, if you post a photo wearing this, we'll take you to standards. Or they're like, if you leave the house without full hair and makeup, we're going to take you to standards. And yeah. And then if you go to standards enough times, like, they'll kick you from the sorority. But I mean, you still have to pay the full amount of the sorority, like, up front then. So you don't really want to go to standards. I don't know. It's traumatizing. Really, really traumatizing. Rushing is the best part. Once you're actually in, just slit your throat. It'll hurt less.
See, I think that the sorority sounds good, like in the social aspect, but everything else is just why.
It really is. Like, the reason why I did it is because I was like, okay, I am moving from 1,400 miles away. I don't know anyone. I don't even know if I'm going to hang out with my teammates that much. I want to, like, make new friends. But then...
Yeah, it's like an easy way to meet people.
Exactly, but then it's like, it's not about that at all. It's a cult. Literally, we had a cult ceremony, like, in the basement. Girls held candles. Someone read from a book. I had to repeat things I don't remember. Everyone was wearing black robes. I was wearing a black dress. We all had to wear red shoes. Or was it red dresses and...
It isn't Kansas anymore.
It was not Kansas anymore. I was like, what on earth is going on?
What the fuck?
Yeah, they'd put you in your groups, and we went down, like... So I remember, like, we were sitting on the stairs waiting for the groups of girls before us to get done. And I walk in, and the entire room is dark, only lit by candles. And all of the actors are, like, standing up against the walls, holding these candles, literally wearing robes. I was like, okay. And then you go up row by row by row, and the leadership is there, and they literally have, like, a book, and they're, like, reading out of it, and you have one girl in front of you from leadership, and you have to, like, say what they're saying, like, back to them, and you're, just, like, repeating a chant, basically swearing to uphold God knows what, I don't remember. And then they give you a pin, and they're like, congratulations, you're a member for life. For life!
For life. As long as you pay your money.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is, like, even if you don't pay your money and you leave the sorority, like, you can't go and join another one ever. You're in that one
Are you
for
serious?
life. Yeah. You can never join another sorority. Ever.
Wow. Oh, sorry if you already covered this, but what made you want to choose your sorority? Because I know you have mentioned it in the past about how people have said things about you joining a white sorority rather than a black sorority.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious of what your choosing was.
That's the voice of Lily, by the way.
Sorry, I jumped in.
Yeah,
I'm on
she
break.
just kind of jumps in. But go on.
So again, like, being from Wyoming, I didn't realize that there was a such thing as white and black sororities, because being from Wyoming, there are a lot of things about race that you do not realize. Like, you just don't, because it's just not something that happens. And essentially, they didn't advertise, like, black sororities at all. My email I got was, like, from Pan-Hellenic Council. And obviously the Pan-Hellenic sororities were all the white ones, so I didn't realize that there was another option. That's what I registered for. And honestly, like, I never thought anything about it. And then I remember it was actually after I had chosen my sorority that I saw, like, other girls on campus with other sorority letters, and I was like, what the heck are those? And people were like, oh, those are the black sororities. And I was like, oh, okay.
They're like, oh, there's all my options.
I was like, oh, okay, Gracie, I'm sorry I brought that up. I'll just go sit here in this corner and shut my mouth. But also, I don't know. Things are very different between white sororities and black sororities. like I remember like a lot of my teammates were Black, and so they wanted to go and see things that like the Black sororities like would put on, and I was like, my sorority doesn't do this at all. It's just like kind of different in like culture and just like in the way things are, and I don't think they have the same process at all for their recruitment. Like I don't see thousands of girls running around carrying like little Louis Vuitton purses and like whatever, so I don't even know how they do recruit, to be honest. They don't send out an email. They don't mail every girl like a gigantic book of what outfits they have to wear. So I really have absolutely no idea how anyone would know about it, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, this was a fun experience with you both. Uh,
Yeah.
I'd
I
like to
learned
thank.
a lot about how lunches work.
Yeah, yes. Um, yeah, I'd like to thank both of you for doing this with me.
Oh, of course. I can do this any Sunday or Monday if you'd like.
Whenever. Always up for anyone joining me on here.
Nice,
Uh,
nice.
so yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to end these things one day.
One day
Today,
we'll figure out how to end this.
today isn't the day.
Today's not the day.
I mean, I
Uh,
guess you could always just be like, well, again, live from New York. Thank you for joining us. This is Monday Night Live.
I'm sorry this podcast is so shit. I'm sorry I'm the worst guest,
Don't tell
basically.
my mother about any of this.
well, so
Yeah, don't.
we've had Kashi, so you're not the worst.
Oh, that's reassuring. Thank you.
But yeah, thank you guys.
Yep, no problem.
We'll catch you on the next one.
I was
All
gonna
right.
say if you said on the flip side, I was going to disconnect and also block you.
Well, I'll catch you on the flip side then.
Goddamn.
Oof. Alrighty. Good night.
Alright.
Cuddy's more compass, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. This is the theme song till we get a better theme song, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. This is the theme song till we get a better theme song. Cuddy's got morals, ayy. And he's got a compass, ayy. But he ain't an explorer, nah. It's for his morals, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. Cuddy's more compass, ayy. This the theme song till we get a better theme song.